It has only happened 16 times in the history of baseball. I'm talking about last night's 4-home-run game by Josh Hamilton of the Texas Rangers. It is proving to be a banner year for baseball. I'm Wendy Bounds. Welcome to Off Duty. And earlier today, I sat down with our sports correspondent, Darren Everson, to talk about why this year is a banner one for America's favorite pastime.
How about another to center field? Number 4, Josh Hamilton on an unstoppable tear in Baltimore.
I can't get enough of watching that. A feat, again, so rare. It has only happened 16 times in the history of baseball. Last night we saw Texas Rangers. Josh Hamilton, he clocked 4 home runs in a single game. Darren Everson, our sports correspondent, is making his way onto the set right now. He's going to tell us, really put this in perspective for us about what kind of a feat this year. What a year for baseball in general.
It's incredible.
We've had a perfect game pitched, and we've had 4 home runs 16 times.
We've had a cycle also, and we've had a no-hitter. Yeah, it's crazy. It's almost gotten to the point where you're wondering how rare these feats are. But the 4 home runs doesn't happen very often, as you just said, 16 times. Personally, we were just talking about this downstairs in the sports department. I'm still waiting for the 5 home run game.
Right.
Not to criticize what Josh did.
Has that ever happened?
Never happened. He also had a double, so he came somewhat close. But that's one thing that we haven't had yet.
And he also set an American League record as well last night. What was that?
That was the total bases. I believe it was 18, because you get 4 for the home runs for each home run, and then 2 for the double as well. He had 8 RBI. Pretty decent game last night for the Rangers. Josh Hamilton's having an incredible year all around, and this is after overcoming some adversity in his own personal life. Absolutely. I mean, he obviously was a guy going back. He was a big prospect for the Tampa Bay Rays, but that didn't work out. He had a lot of problems off the field with alcoholism, but he's completely remade himself. He's been a big star in the American League for a while now. And the Rangers, it's funny, they've come close now a couple times to win the World Series. Obviously a disastrous end of last season where they had it won and they blew it. But again, they look like the best team in baseball by far when they're fully healthy. And so last night you saw again just what this team can do.
Now, talking about these feats and these milestones that are achieved in baseball, again, let's go to the perfect game that was pitched. Now, that was the White Sox, is that right?
That's right.
Tell us, and tell people who don't watch baseball what exactly a perfect game is and why it's so hard to do. Right.
Well, it's 27 up, 27 down, or at least getting everybody out. You can have a perfect game that goes into extra innings, which is obviously harder to do. But it's so uncommon just because somewhere along the line you either can have a walk, you can have an error, which wouldn't even necessarily be your own fault.
Right.
But if anybody reaches base, it's no longer a perfect game. You can still get a no-hitter. But so that you've had some of those somewhat recently. Roy Halladay had one a couple of years ago. It seems like the pace of those has been picking up lately. But a perfect game at this point is still one of the more uncommon feats. This is something else that we were talking about. Like, what is the most rare feat right now in baseball?
Right.
I think it's the 4 home run game.
Yeah.
Unassisted triple plays are another one that you don't see very often. The no-hitter, which is still celebrated as a big deal, actually it happens quite a bit. There have been almost 200 of those in Major League history. But really right now it's the perfect game and the 4 home run game.
I was having this conversation with somebody the other night, and I asked them, and they didn't know, but they thought it had never happened. But has there ever been a game where a pitcher has pitched and nobody's put any wood on a ball at all that you know of? I don't think that's...
But actually, I'm glad you brought that up, because there is such a thing as an immaculate inning, which doesn't happen very often, in which you get 3 strikeouts as the pitcher and on 9 pitches, meaning nobody puts the ball into play in any way, shape, or form. And that's pretty rare.
Yeah.
But that's only 1 inning.
True.
Doing that for an entire game is, I think, quite impossible.
Now, pitching a perfect game, that's kind of like an arm party. But in the fashion world, an arm party is something completely different. Here to explain what it is Elizabeth Holmes with this week's This.
Hi there, I'm Elizabeth Holmes with the Wall Street Journal, and this is how you throw an arm party.
Sure is.
Why wear 1 bracelet when you can wear 12? The hottest party in town is the one on your arm. To learn how to throw a proper arm party, we've come to Story, a new retail concept in New York City that rotates brands every month or so. One of the brands featured right now is Bobble Bar, who's graciously lent us their wares. But there's no way I could throw an arm party without consulting the original arm party hostess with the mostest, Leandra Medine, aka the Man Repeller. Here she is, ladies and gents. So, you seriously trademarked this term.
I sure did.
This is something that you started when?
About, I would say a year and a half ago.
Okay.
6 months after Man Repeller's inception.
And what was your inspiration? Just liking a lot of bracelets?
Well, yeah, well, today I'm not speaking very well for myself, but I tend to like wearing copious bracelets on my wrists. I like decorating them. It's an easy way not to have to worry about what you're wearing because your wrists are kind of doing the talking for your outfit. So I was like, my arms like to party. Oh my God, this is an arm party.
And if you're gonna start an arm party, what's the first thing?
I would say that if you're starting an arm party on a bare wrist,
yes,
or not unlike yours, you probably want to start with the biggest thing. So let's say you want to wear this fancy little panther on your wrist.
That is a fancy little panther. And if you're going to layer with this very statement-y piece, where do you go next?
Okay, so we're gonna do biggest to smallest. That's always the easiest. So let's say we're gonna throw this one into it.
Okay.
You can put it right on top of it. And I've been really into color-coded arm parties lately.
Oh.
So we're gonna try and keep everything kind of metally, you know?
Why color-coded? Does it offers a theme?
It looks a little bit less messy. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So we're gonna try and stay with this. We have this one, we have this one. Maybe we'll add a little bit of this. You know, that kind of matches perfectly also. See what we're doing here?
So we have three semi-sizable.
Yeah, we have 3 chunkers.
But
we're not stopping there.
No.
We're gonna add some of these really cool skull ones. We're gonna put one over here. We're gonna put these next to each other because these tend to look better when they're all, you know, with their brothers and sisters.
What's not to love about adding a little toughness with your skull?
Nothing is the answer to that. And voila.
There we go.
Arm party extraordinaire.
Oh my gosh. So is there a number that you should have, or do you just sort of go, or a place on your wrist?
No, you just sort of go. I would say that if it's hitting your elbow, you've gone too far.
It's an arm rave.
That's the only limit. That's the only boundary I give. It's an arm rave. It is.
It is. Okay. So let's put together a colored one on this side.
Okay. I love these, but I think this might be too thick. This is kind of an arm party in itself.
Okay, so that's a good point. So is anything too much for an arm party?
I don't want to say too much. I don't think it's fair to say too much because everyone's different. But a little uncomfortable.
Okay.
Maybe.
A little, okay.
So instead we're going to start with this orange one. I love summer. And then maybe add this little slinky pinky. Slinky pinky. Slinky pinky. And then we have all these really fun green. Oh, this is so cute. We're gonna add some of these fun green ones, and there are a ton of different colored green ones in here, so we're just gonna add different variations of all the same, well, not all the same one, but you know, different variations of the green variety. And then we're just gonna do like 2 blues.
Well, it's all about color this season, I feel like, so.
And if you don't wanna wear any color on your body, you can sort of let your accessories do that for you. So let's just add this one skull.
Okay.
And I think you're done.
Look at that. Is it a little much for some people, or can everybody pull off the double arm party?
Absolutely. See? Don't you feel different? Don't
I
you
do.
feel just
yeah.
a warrior princess?
Let's go.
Elizabeth, warrior writer. There are 10,000 photos hashtagged arm party on Instagram.
Oh my gosh. So if you have an arm party, hashtag it arm party, add it to Instagram or Twitter, at Man Repeller, at eHolmesWSJ. Leandra, aka Man Repeller, thank you so much.
Anytime.
Here she is.
I kind of think Elizabeth looked like Wonder Woman back there, psh, psh, don't you? Or maybe a rock star. Speaking of rock and roll, our own Lee Hawkins, he sat down with a real rock and roll legend, Donovan, to talk about his music, his career, his social media strategy, and why he's been compared to Bob Dylan. Take it away, Lee.
Donovan is a folk music and rock hero who actually was just inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and now he has a new project called The Essential Donovan, which is about to be released, and he's here to talk about that and his career.
Hi, Ellie. How you doing?
Welcome. Congratulations on that Hall of Fame induction. You popped back into the spotlight, but you never left. What have you been doing over the past few years?
I have to be inspired by something exciting. And in the last 2 years, I've been nominated for the Rock Hall, only the last 2 years. And that kind of stirred me up and said, okay, you want to go back to work? Let's do it.
Did you ever feel that you should have been inducted sooner? There are so many critics that have said that you should have.
For me, it's perfect timing. You know, I'm one of the artists that doesn't wake up in the morning and say, I should be in the Rock Hall of Fame. Why am I not in there? But from the very first day, audiences came to see me. That was great. That was my Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But this one, Lee, is the largest, strongest searchlight that can ever be beamed on a person's work. This one I take with gratitude, but also with happiness, because this beam on my work will turn my work now on to millions of young people around the world.
Right.
And inside my work has always been a positive outlook and tools for young people to get through trauma and difficult times in their life.
And you've really done a lot with film and TV. Your songs have been brought in.
Yeah. From a very early age, when I first began, filmmakers and music people in TV saw that the Donovan song was a kind of, it was cinematic. It told stories in itself.
How have you done in the changing music industry model? Are you happy, or do you think that there's more that you could do?
Well, I pretty much did a lot of stuff musically up until by the age of 24. I'd pretty much done every combination, played every great concert hall in the world.
You were on a TV show that was prominent?
I've done TV, I've done film, I've done everything. Is there anything else? I'm working to introduce this meditation that the Beatles and I brought back from India, which is not a cult, not a religion, but it's so helpful to a stressed out kid in school.
Where is poetry gone with the new generation?
Poetry has got a bad rap. In school, it's not pushed enough. But you know, poetry itself is different from prose and different from lyric pop song. True poetry, in one or two lines, can give to a generation a meaning and a pulse to actually live by. And so I'm a great promoter of bringing poetry back and getting kids to write it again.
Lots of comparisons to Bob Dylan over the years. But when you listen to your music, there's big distinctions. He has a very rugged voice. You're a very smooth singer. Yeah. Did that bother you?
Bob and I were compared, and I think we're linked in a more important way than music and the sound and the dress. Bob brought into popular culture poetry again. He brought poetry back to the pop song, the popular song. This is very important, and it was my mission too. That's what linked us, from as far as I'm concerned.
And finally, a tip for all you chefs out there: do not be afraid of the truffle. Really, don't be afraid. Gail?
The first thing you notice about a truffle, other than the fact that it's a little weird looking, is the smell. I mean, it's got a very strong smell. People call it musky, people call it sexual, people call it animal, people say it smells like the earth, people say it smells like a barnyard. So, you know, people love them, they hate them, but there's a certain mystique about a truffle. There's a whole gestalt. Over the centuries, people have had all kinds of relationships to truffles. The pharaohs had them, the ancient Greeks and Romans had them. They were very prized, but then during the Middle Ages, they were outlawed. Apparently the church said they were, during the Middle Ages, they were manifestations of the souls of the damned, and you were not allowed to eat them, and they were very frowned upon. But then when the Renaissance came along, everybody loved them again and ate them. And since the Renaissance, people have been eating them and prizing them to this day. So this is a truffle. This is a black winter truffle. Just for you to know, black and white truffles are very expensive. This truffle, which is 1.5 ounces, was $112. And they had told me that a white truffle this size was going to be $325. So we stuck with the black truffle. I mean, there are many, many truffle products which are considerably less expensive than a fresh truffle. Truffle oil makes a fabulous truffle oil vinaigrette. Truffle honey is delicious, drizzled over manchego, drizzled over Parmesan, drizzled over goat cheese, really, really good. And then there's truffle salt, which I love, which is expensive, but not that expensive. And it's very truffly smelling. It's little bits of truffle with salt. So a very simple thing to do with black or white truffles is to just shave them over pasta. And if you mix pasta with butter or cream and salt and pepper and a little bit of Parmesan and a truffle, there's nothing better. You can also shave the truffles over scrambled eggs. You can put them in an omelet. You can shave them over a big roasted piece of fish. I mean, they're really the best. So if you're going to shave a truffle over your pasta or over your scrambled eggs, this is what you do. This is a truffle shaver. If you don't have a truffle shaver, you can use a vegetable peeler. You can use one of those cheese shavers. So you just go like that, and you have these beautiful pieces of truffle. And the truffle inside is very dark. If you look at it carefully, it's got little white specks, little white veins. So let's see what this truffle tastes like. really good. Really, really good.
That's it for today's WSJ Off Duty. Hope you'll click above to subscribe and make sure you join us on Friday when we are inside the Four Seasons restaurant in New York City and teach you how to become a guest chef there. Trust me, you want to watch this just for the cotton candy. I'm Wendy Bounds. I'll see you guys on Friday.